Today we have a hand featuring one of my favorite poker players, Garrett Adelstein, where he is battling at Hustler Casino Live against Robbi Lew. And in this hand, Robbi decides to make a pretty optimistic play. Maybe an insane soul read.
Hi. It's not about what I have, it's about what I don't think you have when you play against me. You let me do this to you post-stream too, last time we played.
Or maybe something a little bit more devious.
Jackpot?
What?
Whoa!
Look at like maybe he thinks that she saw his hand somehow, or
I don't understand sort of what's happening right now.
Andy.
This doesn't seem super funny to me.
Let's get right to the action.
That was like one of his first TV appearances.
One of his first ones, yeah. That was like before he won all those tournaments.
That's funny.
Yeah.
We are playing 100, 200, 400 with a $400 ante, with Robbi putting the straddle on under the gun. So they're essentially playing with an $800 big blind, playing roughly 170 big blinds deep. Okay, folds round to Garrett in the third blind, who raises it up to 3,000 bucks with the 8-7 of clubs, perfectly fine and standard. Robbi decides to call with the Jack of clubs, 4 of hearts. Probably not so standard, but, you know, whatever. In position, closing the action with a bunch of dead money in the pot. I guess you can splash around. Let's go to the flop.
Wow, Robbi really mixing it up here, calling Garrett's raise with Jack 4 off. It's blind versus blind, and Garrett here has flopped a straight flush draw, 10-10-9 with a couple clubs. He's gonna bet 2,500. Wow, and Robbi's gonna call here.
The flop comes 10-10-9, 2 clubs. Garrett has a straight flush draw, but his Jack of clubs is blocked. He goes for a $2,500 bet, which is fine. And Robbi decides to call with the Jack high. I don't mind this call in position with the Jack of clubs because there are a lot of turns that give you additional equity. If she was facing a much bigger bet, then I think folding becomes viable. But with the powerful Jack of clubs card in her hand, I think she has to continue, because if she gets any king, queen, jack, 8, 7, club, right? Any of those cards now give her some sort of draw. So I like her calling the flop. Let's take a look at the turn.
With Jack 4 with the Jack of clubs. Turn is a 3, puts backdoor hearts down. And this is usually when Garrett will lay the hammer down with combo draws.
The turn is the 3 of hearts, and Garrett decides to go for a $10,000 bet, which I think is fine and good. This is a spot where you definitely want to be betting using a big polarizing size with your best made hands, primarily 10s, and then also some draws. And you want to be doing this with some high equity draws that can bet and then perhaps load in all the money. And you also want to be doing it with some pretty junky draws, like perhaps Queen 8 or something like that for a gut shot and overcard. So I like this. I think a $10,000 bet is very nice. Let's see how Robbi responds.
She's got 1 club and 1 heart, and wow, look at this. What is she thinking about here? Is she gonna raise it? Well, we saw her raise ace-king a little bit ago for a min raise. Here she's gonna min click.
All right, so after Garrett bets 10,000, Robbi raises the minimum, 10,000 on top. Look, Jack 4 is not a great hand to do this with in general, because you block your opponent's strong draws, which means it makes it more likely they have either a 10 or a really trashy draw. The thing is, though, whenever you go to 10,000, if your opponent has a really trashy draw, well, they're probably still going to call because they're getting amazing pot odds at this point. So this is a scenario where, unless you think Garrett is just drastically over bluffing, I think we have a pretty easy fold when the turn does not help us at all. But she does go for the small raise. What does Garrett do?
I think he's considering bet 3 betting, and yep, there's the all-in. There's the all-in. Garrett, like I said, he's just so experienced.
Garrett made the expected play with his very low showdown value but very high equity draw. I think this is a great play. I think in general, when you see some players who are not good, strong professionals raising the minimum on the turn, I think you're going to be against a lot of one-pair type hands. They're just trying to buy a cheap showdown or whatever. That is definitely what some people will do. And if that's the case, don't give them a cheap showdown. Blast it all in. And worst case, you have a straight flush draw. So unless he's against a full house, he's in okay shape. And most players in Robbi's shoes, if they did have a full house, they would just continue slow playing because they really, really, really want to give Garrett a chance to either improve a draw to a flush or a straight, or just continue loading money on the river with whatever they have, with a busted draw or whatnot. So this is a scenario where I think Robbi's probably capped at something like a 10, but most likely she has a 9 in this scenario. I'm pretty surprised to see the Jack-4 stone bluff, but if they have the Jack-4 stone bluff, you can rip it in and win the pot that way too. Is the hand over?
And bet patterns, bet sizing. She's gonna put a time chip out?
This is why you shouldn't be in hands like this.
She doesn't have a 3.
I call.
She calls?
There's a bit of table talk. It seems like maybe Robbi thought she had a 3, and she calls.
I prefer once, but it's up to you. Yikes.
Oh my God.
Let's see the hand. So far, so good. It looks like you're ahead.
What is going on
I prefer
here?
once, but it's up to you.
Is it possible that her hand might be misread in the card graphics or something?
Because I have hand.
You do? Yikes.
No, I just thought this is a pure bluff catcher I'm dealing with right now.
With Jack high?
Purely. But yeah, I think he has to be.
We'll go to the river. The river is a 9.
That one's you for sure.
They're gonna run it
Unless you have, like, pocket
twice,
five
I
and
don't think so.
she's
You have,
gonna.
like, small pair?
You give me that much credit?
I don't know.
Haven't you seen what I've
She's
done?
good with the first one.
Let's turn him over. You're already not that
Oh. No.
If the cards are correct.
already there.
What is it called?
What a sick call.
And the river bricks out again.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Wow.
I want to see.
How many times are you gonna let me do this
Does she
to you?
have Jack 4?
She had 4 Jack high.
What?
Whoa!
Look at Whoa, look at Garrett's face. That is.
That's a poker right there. That was sick. Wow. That's strong. That was sick. Oh.
That is super, super strange. You can see his reaction. Like, what?
Ma'am?
Robbi gives some table talk, saying something along the lines of, "Do you give me credit for a small pair?" I don't know if by small pair she means a 3 or like pocket 4s. Kind of a weird thing to say either way. And then she shows the Jack-4. And take a look at Garrett's face. He is trying to put together what just happened. Let's watch him try to put this together for just a second.
What?
Very nice to do so.
Jacob, you look like you want to kill me. I'm not Jacob. I'm like, you look like you want to kill me, Jacob.
wants to vomit.
I don't think Garrett is looking at her like he wants to kill her. I think he is more so thinking, is my opponent so bad as to call with Jack high for all the money, like in this scenario, or did I just get cheated? And if so, how?
I was not in the hand. I want to vomit. Wow.
I'm speechless. I'm speechless. I mean, usually Garrett would be fairly congratulatory if somebody made a hero call like that, but he seems somewhat disturbed here by what just happened. I don't.
Call of the year right there.
It's testing.
It's literally like the sort of most disturbed look that I've ever seen Garrett give.
We can pause the feeling.
No, let me tell you what happened. 10,000, mid-range 20, shove, call.
And obviously the reason why he would be that is how can she call?
I remember.
Like maybe he thinks that she saw his hand somehow, or so, I don't know.
Nothing. I think nothing happened.
The flop goes bet call. The turn goes bet raise shove call.
Oh, like what? What do you mean, like wait?
128.3.
bet, 20,000 mini raise.
No, before the flop.
Before the flop.
128.3.
This is the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen.
I
Oh, look at
don't
that.
understand sort of what's happening right now.
Andy.
This is a new pot, right?
If my Jack was in a club, I would have been out.
What do you mean if your Jack wasn't a club?
Yeah, blocker.
You know you've let me do this to you several times now.
Yeah.
I don't know what just happened.
I'm just testing it.
Yeah.
And
This
you just
doesn't
keep
seem super
letting
funny
do
to
this.
me,
And
honestly,
I,
at
no,
all,
like
but
when
how
you
much
bet,
money
when
is
you bet that like high big
Yeah.
stack, why did you go on
I
a
don't
running
need to
twice?
say.
I thought you were on ace high. Ace high.
And then so why call with jack high then?
First of all, a little bit of a straight draw. I have blockers under.
No, on the turn though. So you called all in on the turn because.
Yeah, because you don't have.
That's right. She
You don't
thinks you
have-
can't jack high.
It's not about what I have. It's about what I don't think you have when you play against me. That's
You
it.
didn't think you had jack queen of clubs.
75.
You let me do this to you post stream too. Last time we played.
Yeah.
You're gonna keep letting me.
Okay, 50, 75.
All right, that's the hand. Well, I don't know what to say in this scenario because it seems like Robbi's table talk changed substantially from before they put out the river card, because before it sounded like she thought she had a pair, but then it became clear she thought she had jack high. But then she said that I thought you had ace high, and if that's the case, why would you call it jack high? And she was like, I didn't think you have anything. But jack high loses to ace high. Very confusing table talk. Now look, I don't know anything about Robbi. From what I understand from reading on Twitter, she does not play a ton of poker. Despite that, you kind of presume when your opponent's going to be playing for $100-something thousand that they realize that the jack four here is a really bad hand to minimum raise the turn and a really bad hand to call an all in with. But she did. And she somehow won the pot. Now, that makes you think there's maybe something shady happening here, right? Because if you think about it, all you have to do is have a phone on you or a beeper or whatever that can vibrate. And if it vibrates whenever you have the best hand, don't fold. Now, you'd have to be pretty absurd to cheat in a spot like this where you call with a jack high. If you're going to cheat, you'd call with a hand like a 3, for example, or maybe a 9, right? You don't want to call with the jack high. But imagine you get a vibration in your pants that says you have the best hand. Well, then why would you not call? Because best case, your opponent has a draw, and you're 50-50, and there's a bunch of dead money in the pot, right? So, was Robbi cheating? I do not know. I don't know. I honestly have no idea. It definitely looks suspect to me. That said, somehow after the stream, I don't even know how this necessarily went down, but Garrett and Robbi have been posting on Twitter a little bit about it. Apparently, Robbi gave Garrett back the money. Now, I have never had any bad interactions with Garrett. He's been nothing but kind to me. I don't know anything about Robbi, so I don't know who to believe in these scenarios. So, I don't know. If somebody gives you back the money, that kind of implies they did something wrong and got caught and hope to be quiet about it. I don't even know, because, I mean, if you have been paying attention to, like, the Mike Postle instance where he sued me for $10 million for saying I thought he cheated at poker, he didn't get back any money, right? So all those players are just out the money. Here, if you can get back your money, I guess you take it. That said, it's a very odd scenario. And if Robbi actually is a very recreational, total amateur player, maybe she just decided to call the jack high because Garrett didn't have anything. So it's a weird thing. Could you really start accusing people of cheating if they're just kind of new to poker? I would say obviously not. That said, if you're playing for tons of money, it's kind of presumed you can know the jack high is a really bad call here. So very odd scenario. I don't know what's happening. There definitely should be some sort of investigation because it really was well out of line. Obviously, you know, whoever had access to the hole cards should be looked at. And obviously, Robbi should be looked at. And you got to figure out what's happening here. This is a weird thing, a weird scenario. I don't know what's happening either. And hopefully they get to the bottom of it. That's going to be it for today. Good luck in your games. Have fun. Protect yourself before you wreck yourself. I'll talk to you next time.